Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll be reviewing School of Rock for National Rock and Roll Day. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Hit it, Stinky.
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Brennan back. Brennan, how we doing?
Doing pretty good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so celebrating National Rock and Roll Day. And what better way to celebrate it than to review the movie, School of Rock.
Right.
Directed by Richard Linklater, obviously. Big fan of Richard Linklater's movie, Dazed and Confused. Also, a big fan of this movie. Obviously, growing up when we've seen this movie before, so this isn't...
Plenty of times.
This wasn't the first time watched for either of us.
Sure. Definitely not.
Jack Black, obviously the king of the show, playing Dewey Finn, a.k.a. Ned Schneebly there for a little bit. Ned Schneebly actually played by Mike White. Sarah Silverman in this one as Patty. And you get some Joan Cusack Ashman as well as Principal Mullins. So a decent cast. Obviously, the rest of the cast is filled in by the students. Miranda Cosgrove is a recognizable name in this one. Yeah. As far as, again, people that grew up our age.
Yeah,
watching Drake and Josh, iCarly, on and on and on. But anyways, we'll start with the good, and I think both of us can agree that a lot of this movie falls into this good category, if not most or all of it.
I was about to argue all of it.
But, I mean, let's just start with the story. Obviously, the story's flawed in the sense that I don't know how easily this would happen in real life.
Him taking the phone call and becoming, especially for, like, a prestigious school like they claim to be.
Yeah. But nonetheless, it is a creative way to, push the story along. Yeah. And, Jack Black obviously playing Dewey Finn, just kicked out of his band and struggling for money, looking for a way to make some money. He answers the call. He hears how much they're paying. He's like, oh, give me a second. Pretends to be Ned, and then discovers the musical talent of all these kids and hits the ground running. And it's a fun story. The comedy is really good.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. Like I said, I don't know how feasible it is in real life. But the connections and how everything works and him getting the principal on his good side and all of that, it all makes sense. And I think it's really well thought out. I think it's very well written. We were just talking, the guy that plays the real Ned Schneebly is actually one of the writers of this movie. So that was cool to find out. But it was very well written. It's just, one of those feel-good, fun comedy stories.
Yeah, for sure. Even those, like... I don't even want to call them corny, but like the one-liners, it's just, it's not forgettable. Like there's some things like it comes up and you might even know it word for word, even if you haven't seen it in a while. It's just, a lot of it just stands out. And like I said, I don't know that there's anything beyond in the good category for me.
Yeah.
I just, from start to finish, I don't think it's slow. I don't think it's
it's very well
anything
paced.
like that. The entire movie is...
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched it right before we recorded this just to, be freshened up on it. And I was watching it, and it got to, the Parents' Day when he's discovered and the cops are called. And he's running
waiting
out
in the
school with
hallway.
Cars, and then all of a sudden they're at, the Battle of the Bands. And I was like, man, we're already here. Like, you just, once you start watching this, you're dialed. And there's never a moment where you're like, okay.
Like, let's get it going.
Yeah, it's from the beginning with him jumping off the stage and nobody catching him to the end where he jumps off the stage and everybody catches him. So, a little full circle moment. Gotta love it there. But it's Jack Black, too. It's the Jack Black effect. You mentioned how it's something that it's very memorable. It's very quotable. And that tends to be the case when you get Jack Black in a movie. Yeah,
just his... I don't know, he's just very goofy.
His demeanor, the way he portrays himself. I mean, he's obviously a very talented actor and musician. Perfect for this role, honestly.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he comes from that, right? Tenacious D. Like, it's not like he's making things up. Like,
he knows the history of rock, and he lives the history of rock, and he loves the history of rock. But, I mean, going back to, he's very quotable. It's the way he carries himself. He's just a memorable actor. A prime example of that recently, the Mario Brothers movie, Peaches took the world by storm. And
the song. I remember you talking about that a lot. I haven't watched that one yet, but I do remember you talking about it.
Especially if you've played Mario games. Yeah. Kind of gathers it all and puts it in one movie.
Yeah, I just remember you hyping that song up and even like into the Oscars? Like you thought it would win an award? I don't know.
I don't. When it was going to the Oscars, it wasn't nominated for an Oscar. Okay. But when it wasn't nominated, I was like, when it didn't make the short list, I was like, all right, I'm all in on I'm Just Ken from Barbie. That made the short list. The Billie Eilish song, which inevitably won, I thought would also be a good one to win there. But no, it's just Jack Black. It's him and his vocals and him being him, and it's a catchy, obviously, lyrics. But in School of Rock, you get that too, and it's fun because as somebody that loves classic rock, watching this as a kid, you don't hear the soundtrack as much as you do when you know all the songs now. You know what I mean? And I've watched this more than just when I was a kid, and it feels like every time I watch this, I'm like, oh, I know that song now, and I love it. Like, clear back in like middle school, I can remember you. I mean, you were just like, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Just like your parents, not like shove that on you, but I was raised with it.
Yeah, and so for me, like, I mean, my parents are a little younger, but even that, it's just I always like kind of knew one thing, but like the past couple years, I've kind of broadened my genres that I listen to, and so there's things that like even I can pick up on now, like oh, that's I like that, or oh, I know them,
And speaking on a great soundtrack, you got a mix of Zeppelin, you've got some. Bowie is mixed in there when they going into Parents' Day. Moon Age Daydream plays, which is awesome. There's just a good mix of everything. There's a lot of Zeppelin in this one, and one of the ones that sticks out is when he is doing the Immigrant Song himself in the van after they all pretend to be sick and get the gig at Battles of the Band. That just sticks out.
Stick it to the man.
Stick it to the man. Yosis or something like that. Stick to the Moniosis or something like that.
They're all laying out there, and he comes out, gives them thumbs up, and he's like, "You're supposed to be dying," or But they all like lay back down on the ground. You just get the and he's like, A+ and 20 gold stars to you. And, back to what you're saying about the like mannerisms and how goofy he is. Yeah, watching that, it just threw me back to school. Mr. Wreath.
Yes,
I feel like he is like spot on. Just the way he is, it just having him as a teacher, I mean, a lot of people aren't even going to know what we're talking about. No. But it was just, you see that in the show, and obviously there's like, he's not a real teacher. Yeah. But to have that as a real teacher, that was pretty cool to be like, oh, for sure. Like a lot of the goofy stuff he did, I can remember having a teacher just like that. To be
Spider-Man. Yeah. That was the best. Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. And those are the teachers that you remember, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, the Jack Black's just a man. The way he dances throughout this movie is hilarious. And again, he is musically inclined, and he's a very talented actor. I thought all the kids were awesome as far as like acting and obviously musical performances go.
Yeah, and I feel like, just like the one-on-one interactions with them. I feel like it kind of shows you a lot. Like they're different individuals. As a student, he pushes those to like the guy that did the little kid that did all like the light systems. Gordon did it all on his laptop, and then at the end, it's showing him on the little laptop, and then they slide him over to like the big I don't know, just like the master board, whatever you want the actual word for it. Yeah, and he's like doing all this just like on the spot because they didn't plan on doing the song that they did, and it was just cool how they all had their one-on-one interactions with them, and
they all had a role.
Yeah, and even not as a teacher, he just really put their strengths on the spot, and help them do different parts, and it
was cool. That. It was like a little business because obviously you have the band, but you had a costume designer, you had the light guy, you had security, you had marketing basically with the girls that were coming up with the logo and band name. So you had all of these different branches to put on this show, and it was really cool. Again, just like a fun, unique story too. Very unique.
For sure.
The kids were awesome. They all rocked. The final song is as catchy as
especially it gets. As he wanted to use his song, and he was. You kind of see early on he's very selfish. He wants the band to be him, and then at the end it's like, hey, let's do your song as for one of the kids.
Well, that's cool too. Like as far as character development goes, because when he's in the band that he gets kicked out of, you can see that he's also selfish, trying to take over the stage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he always wants those solos, and
he still gets a solo.
Yeah, he does. And when they decide to use the kids' song, he's like, even he didn't want to do like the main vocals. He's like, "Are you sure it's your song?"
Yeah,
and then does, and obviously kills it.
Yeah,
and it was just cool that like even he developed, and I mean, he was pushing music on the kids, but it just became
he grew. Well, that's what he means when he says, "Your kids touched me, and I think I touched them too."
No, the teacher's pauses. Like, what? They all start freaking out. That was so funny.
Just more of the good comedy. There was recently, Miranda Cosgrove has been on a lot of podcasts recently, and I saw a clip of one where they were talking about School of Rock, and she was talking about how all of these kids that were musically inclined were auditioning, and she was like, I wasn't really musically inclined, and I auditioned and I sang, and she was like, I didn't do a very good job, but they made a role for me because they thought I could act. And, and that's what I mean. Like, there's a role for everybody. And even Summer, she's the band manager. And
didn't she say she was a singer until she started singing?
Yeah,
he had enough of hearing that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, her role was awesome too. I thought Summer really fit in, despite not being a part of the band. I'm glad they found a way to fit in.
Right, and that's what I was saying, that they just all had unique characteristics. And I mean, him not being a teacher, only knowing music, he did well as that kind of...
Which is why he gets his job at the end of the movie.
And, he just really, worked to their strengths. And obviously, like you're saying, her as a band manager, costume designer, stuff like that.
Yeah, really good movie. I mean, the set design's really good. Obviously, between the school, the bar scene's really good. The venue that they play at is, an awesome Battle of the Bands venue. So all of that was really done well. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything below good in other categories for this. I just, start to finish, it was...
I don't think it's like...
for me.
I mean, we'll obviously get into our scoring. I wouldn't say it's like a perfect 10 out of 10, but it's one of those movies that really doesn't have anything glaringly wrong with it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a flaw here and there. There is one thing I don't like, which we'll get into, but it's more or less just me being like, I don't like that guy, more than he didn't fit in the movie. But, I mean, what else really sticks out in the good for you? Obviously, the soundtrack, again, is a big one. I feel like we blew over that. I mean...
Yeah, one
of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he's asking them if they know these bands.
I'm like,
what? Like, my inner Jack Black's like, what are you talking about? And obviously it's all crickets. And I love when he's like, Summer, write up the schedule, and it's like 8 to 10:15 history of rock, 10:15 to 11 appreciation of rock, and then 11 in the day band practice. And I just love that scene because it's so funny how like none of the kids know what he's talking about. And if I was a kid, I'd been like, I know,
right.
But and then that goes to show like him naming all the bands. It's honestly a love letter to rock and roll.
Yeah,
especially classic rock.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about it too, as somebody that's, like you said, grew up with classic rock being played throughout their childhood. Their first concert was Foreigner, Night Ranger, and Journey. Like, this love letter to rock has just stuck with me because this came out when we were, 4 years old?
2003, I think it came out?
When we were 4 years old. God, it's already 21. That's crazy. But it came out and it was, I connected with it on a personal level. So, it's just been a movie that I can visit, and I know I'm going to have a good time every time I watch it.
Oh, for sure.
If you don't have anything else in the good, we can hop to the meh. I only have one meh.
No, start to finish, this entire movie's in the good for me. I don't have any meh or bad for this movie.
The only meh I have is the guy that replaces Jack Black in the band. The long-haired guy that goes up to Joan Cusack and is like, I think you're hot.
With the
horrible
sleeve.
Shirt. Horrible shirt, yes. Yep. I put him in the meh because every time he's on the screen, I'm like, ew. When he's not on the screen, it's, we're rocking and rolling. I didn't even think about
it. That's just a small detail.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end, the shirt was getting me. And then, obviously, that scene, he's just...
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Rosie and I were watching it, and when he came on screen, I was like, I don't like that guy. Rosie's like, why? And I was like, I just don't. Is that even a shirt? That's what I said. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I think that
it obviously
it just makes you not like the band more.
Yeah,
which
it makes more sense when you get a douchebag to replace Jack Black. You're like, all right, I'm on Dewey's side even more.
I mean, makes sense.
So it fits in the story, but I'm like, dude, you're not cool, dude.
Yeah.
Put a shirt on. But that's really it. That's really. I don't have anything in the bad. Again, I can talk about obviously my love for Dazed and Confused, but when you talk about these two movies, it goes to show the strength in Richard Linklater's direction.
I can only, I think, speak on this movie.
Yeah. And Hitman was also great. Yeah, and there's more. There's a lot more that he's done that's also great. Yeah. But Hitman, as far as recently goes, School of Rock, as far as today goes.
For as much as you've talked about Dazed and Confused, it is, I think, quite the shocker that I have not watched that yet.
Yeah.
Maybe later. I was going to say, maybe later.
You can't be a guest again until you watch Dazed and Confused. But no. We'll hop over to our final thoughts and ratings then. What do you want to leave off with School of Rock, and what do you give it out of 10?
So good. I don't know. I have a hard time rating movies. Yeah. It's not the first time I've said that.
Yeah. I think this is your fifth episode and your fifth time saying it.
I think so. However.
Actually, no, it is. Yep. I was going to say
4?
You easily rated Spider-Man, but you weren't on for that. We just left the theater together, and you're like, that's 10 out of 10.
And then I rated that one. I rated the second one.
Yeah.
I think I put Interstellar on my letterbox as a 5. Yeah. And thinking after this, I'm going to have to do the same thing for School of Rock. Yeah. I think I'm going to have to give it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? Okay. I'll go a solid 9.5.
Okay.
Shirt, dude. I mean, it's, at the end of the day, like, it's not a perfect movie. And there's no such thing as a perfect movie, so I shouldn't even say that, because that's not what I give a 10 out of 10 for. It's just, I don't know. Some of it, I don't know. It's hard not to give it a 10, I guess, but for me,
I've always had an issue giving 10 out of 10s. Just, like you said, there's no perfect movie, but I don't think that should be the stopping point of what you think a 10 out of 10 is, which I think there's a lot more that goes in, like, oh, that's I feel like there's sentimental values and stuff.
Yeah,
like maybe growing up as a kid.
This one has a lot of nostalgia for both of us.
Yeah, and like maybe you hold on to something as this, like you're allowed to be yourself, how they bring out the kids and stuff like that. And, that might give you a little extra boost. And I don't know, I thought about a 9.5, but like I said, for me, there's nothing beyond the good category. There's nothing nothing bad. And I don't know, it's just... For me, it's just something I like, so I have no issue giving it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't like the new band member. I don't like his costume design, so forget technical. Maybe here and there's parts of the movie, I guess, where, like, Principal Mullins doesn't feel like... I don't know. It's hard because even at the end, like, the things that you can try to think about that you don't like about this movie, there's good justification to why it's that way. You know what I mean?
Like, if you're talking about her personality, like, I feel like she is weird, but, like, the teachers talked about and, like, he brought out of her, she was never like that. And I think even she said that I was never like this.
In the van.
And then she gets put into, like, this very strict, formal school.
That scene's kind of cringy, but, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. She's under the influence.
Yeah.
They call it the truth serum for a reason, so why wouldn't she pour out her whole story and be like, I wasn't like this?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, somebody that might be like us, sucked into a school like that, things are going to change. You're going to be, just a little off. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any complaints,
I will say, I did forget this in the meh. Sarah Silverman would have been dumped so fast if I was Ned.
It is hard to watch that part. Just how... Oh.
Especially the part where he walks out and shuts the door. I'm glad he did that. Like,
that
part was talking to him like he was a kid, and I was like, "Come on, Ned!"
But it was fun. When are you gonna stand up for? And then the door just slams.
Yeah.
Yes, Ned.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Patty would have been gone. Yeah. But no. At the end of the day, it is. I consider it a classic. It's up there for me. It's something again that I can revisit all the time. Always have a good time with. If you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, no kidding.
Because it's Jack Black and Richard Linklater. That's what I would say. I mean, most people don't even know who Richard Linklater is, probably.
I don't think I.
Level, but,
I didn't know the name until before we started this.
Yeah,
and then I also didn't know he did Days
Jack Black. Everyone knows who Jack Black is. So
there's no way you don't know who he is.
If you don't, man, you got to be living under a rock.
Or like 5 years old.
Maybe. I feel like even after the Mario movie, you might know who Jack Black is.
I already forgot about that movie.
But no, it's a good movie to pick for National Rock and Roll Day.
For sure.
There were a couple options. One I'm doing down the road for 25th anniversary, to be named later. So we'll see when we get there. And then there were some older ones, like obviously like American Graffiti popped in my head, but like I don't know, this just felt right.
I was say probably anything you say right now is just gonna be names to me. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
Could have done the Elvis movie.
I haven't watched that one.
No?
Heard it was good though.
Good watch.
Was
Good
it?
Watch. Yeah. A little bit long. Good watch. No, that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
We're talking about the National Rock and Roll Day movie, Skull of Rock.
Stick it to the man.
Stick it to the man. Do it for Skull of Rock. Happy National Rock and Roll Day to all of you. Brennan, thank you for coming on, my man.
Appreciate you having me.
Always a pleasure having you. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, please check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. It is all appreciated. And we will talk to you all soon.